Diversity is important in all media, and it is especially appropriate for fantasy, in my opinion. In a genre where anything is possible, entirely unconstrained by the real world, there is no real reason not to include people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, beliefs, and genders. Diversity is important for many reasons. In the past, fantasy has been very much dominated by white male authors, writing predominantly about white male characters. An obvious example is Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Now, it's not a bad thing to write about white male characters. The Lord of the Rings is an incredible story, one of my personal favourites, and full of so many good messages. What is unfortunate is when the majority of books published on a yearly basis limit the kinds of characters we can read about, particularly when the world around us and the worlds we create have so many different ideas, characters, stories, cultures, and experiences to offer. Readers can certainly empathise with people who do not directly represent them, as empathy is a part of reading fiction. We have all commiserated with Frodo's suffering on the path to Mount Doom, despite not being hobbits with hairy feet. We know the pain Arya went through in Game of Thrones, even though most of us are not young girls in a dark medieval fantasy world. And we understand the characters' struggles in the tales of Earthsea, even though we are not wizards or face dark magics on a daily basis. We can empathise with these anti-heroes, villains, the rabbits in Watership Down, the dragons in How to Train Your Dragon. We don't need to be the same as someone to understand their story. So, if we can empathise with all these different characters, there really is no reason to avoid diversity in fantasy. Break away from the default male white hero and explore other human perspectives. Consider their opinions, their unique perspectives, their interests, and their practices. White men have plenty of representation, so let's give everyone else's a bit too. It is quite literally harmless to do so. In fact, it is positively beneficial. If readers of all ages see someone of their own shade of skin, their gender, belief system, or culture be the hero of a story, or even just a main character, it can empower them and bring them confidence in who they are, and make the story all the more impactful to them. It is inclusive. What a great ability we have as writers to bring this to people, to have such a positive effect on our readers. On top of that, we can see what other people have gone through, see their perspective, and be the better for it. Diversity can make a story better for one simple reason. Different characters with different backgrounds and experiences will often have more interesting relationships with each other, as well as more unique conversations. A black female wizard with OCD talking with a bisexual male warrior instantly raises so many varying points of difference simply because of who they are. These may or may not change the tone, structure, and the style of the conversation. The particular stories behind them will only add more texture to those characters. Right off the bat, how they behave and talk to each other is vastly different to how two straight white men having a chat might discuss things. They might have different experiences in the same world, different customs, eat different foods, wear different clothes. They might have completely different disabilities or mental conditions, strengths and weaknesses which are unique to them. And all of these are instantly a little more complex and a little more interesting. The same would go for a black Frenchman speaking with a Southeast Taiwanese woman with a disability, or an Egyptian woman talking with a neurodivergent man from Chile. Cultural differences, even those which are created for a fictional race or a religion or a condition in the story, are innately interesting. And it's very important to remember none of this prevents you from writing stock standard Caucasian male characters. I've written a few of them myself. I have also written, and I am writing, and will write, about people of various other races, genders, sexualities, beliefs, and all sorts of other unique personal traits and identifiers. Because why not? We should all stop for a second and think. Would this character be more unique, memorable, interesting, inclusive, or representational if their skin was a different colour, or if they were polytheistic, or had a background in a matriarchal society, or one of any number of different personality traits or abilities or preferences? Or perhaps their friend is neurodivergent or asexual or practices a different religion. Is there something more that could be included here to make the story and character a bit deeper, perhaps richer, and perhaps a little more reflective of our reality with all of its diversity? Is there a specific reason that any particular character needs to be white? Maybe they are Nordic or something like that. Or is their culture more akin to Arab cultures, or Manchurian, or Hindu, or Native American, or any number of different cultures out there in the world, even in the fantasy worlds? Everything and anything goes in fantasy, so long as, of course, it is internally consistent. And you're the one that's writing the fantasy, and the only rules you need to follow are those that you crafted for this world. Now, this might all sound a bit preachy to some writers, and that is not my intent. My point is, we live in an incredibly interesting and diverse world, and we should celebrate that. Celebrate people in all their differences and diversity. Reflect that in our fiction, in our fantasy stories, because it adds representation, inclusion, and humanity to our stories. It can be a little tough to find diverse characters in stories, so I have compiled a list with the help of the amazing book communities on Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. I had so many replies to my initial posts on these forums that I perhaps missed a few in making this list on here, but you can add these to your reading list anytime. There are plenty of indie authors in here too, which is always great to see. So I'll leave this list up on the video for a while, and I'll try to make it as readable as possible and as easy to identify each individual book. Obviously, I didn't have time to go after all the covers and all of that, but they can all be found via Google quite easily. So enjoy, and as always, read books, be kind, and live generously. Step